Hi, Liploini here with another turn of my multiplayer let's play of Dominions 4, and we are starting with taking a look at the fighting between Xibalba and Pangea in the north, and I see Yomon shows up here too in Obalshin. I wish I had taken a closer look at this when I was playing. And another turn. Some more research is there. My pretender has found some magic site. One of my other mages has also found something, and lots of battles. And of course Yomon attacks me for some reason. I think at this point Yomon ran AI and the AI decided to attack me, while at the same time losing lots of units against Ulm. On the other hand, Ulm lost totally, so now I'm fighting an AI fighting another AI. Complicated stuff. Or is Ulm AI? I completely forgot about Ulm during this time, I think. Oh, and there go our scouts. So our observation of the war in the northeast seems to be at an end for now, and I have to deal with Yomon now. Kind of funny. Just a turn before I was ready to attack the now AI nation. Now I have to spend a lot of time sorting out all those armies I've moved around. Oh, I hate this, but it has to be done. Unscripted messes tend to cease to be useful pretty damn fast. Really, the only way you can use unscripted messes is if you have for some reason lots of units with the tech undisciplined, because those tend to ignore your orders anyway and do whatever they want. Now I have to move this little army to the west, so I can make a combined effort of trying Yomon's army out from my fort on the western border. 90 units looks doable, together with the units already there. Then it's time for some more site searching. Yeah, and you have to move on and then search the next over there. Time to forge something. Bag of wines. Exactly, they give a little supply bonus, making it easier for large armies to move. And they are rather cheap, which is always a plus if you need a lot of them. The thing is, I need a lot of those because do you see all this forest here? A lot of those forests, especially the one directly south of my capital, is kind of starved. Of supplies. If I try to move armies through them, then I'm in a lot of trouble. Later in the game this will probably cease to be an issue, since I plan on this stop using mammoths and start using exclusively units with wings, so I can just fly over this little problem soon. But right now and for a long time to come, well, those few provinces with not enough supply will come to haunt me again and again. Anyway, for now I'm thinking about how to best invade AI Yomon. Since it looks like Yomon has tons of little armies everywhere, I get the really stupid idea to send my Raven Lords with their hidden troops everywhere, not thinking about what this exactly means, because the AI loves to patrol on all those armies everywhere, partially still scripted by humans now offline player, means that they are all in perfect position to stop my stealth armies from getting through. Something I only will remember in a couple turns from now, when all my first plans will come crashing down. All those small Ravenlord units are basically made up the same way: a small troop to protect the Ravenlord itself, and a larger troop to fly over to the other side of the map and try to gank the other side's leaders. In practice, this often means they will simply rush into the next unit they see, because, well, actually flying to the other side and getting the enemy's leaders is never a done deal. Essentially, it works the more squads you have, and it works the better the more free space the enemy has between their squadrons. If there is, for example, just a giant mass of troops across the entire battlefield, then your flyers will have some trouble getting over there, because every time they reach an enemy squadron below them, the game throws some dice to see if they ignore them or if they just go down attacking them, ignoring their old orders. So anyway, what this means in practice is you can't really rely on your attack rear command to work as it intended. I see it more as a kind of undeserved bonus if it works as intended. Anyway, since the scouts in my Great Sea Balboa War are all dead now, I'm instead try to move a scout directly through the border fortress of my neighbor Pangaea to see if I can't reach the combat zone from the south, while I'm preparing a huge mass of Ravenlords and stealth units to move through the front lines to see if I can get to lesser defended places behind it. Sadly though, I'm soon to learn that Yeomon was one of the more defensive oriented players, and he hasn't really left any provinces undefended or with low defenses, so it will turn into a grueling slog. At least having suddenly an AI as your neighbor in a multiplayer game means you can, if you're strong enough to overcome them, basically effortlessly get more lands. The drawback is, of course, an AI nation will attack you ceaselessly in a gimmick game like this one, where the AI has enough money and resources to indefinitely raise more armies. That can get troublesome. Mostly it's not really interesting or a challenge, it's more like tediousness. You know you can't lose, because sooner or later all enemy armies who had some kind of sensible script will be dead. All magic dudes with lots of magic crap forged to them will be dead, and then they have just large blobs of barely controlled units, and then you will basically start to win and win and win until you've crushed them. Only getting to that place with an AI is grueling, especially a large healthy one like this one, not one left by a player who got crippled and then took the coward's way out. No, nothing is as annoying as when a player who looked like he was in a good position, or at least not a really bad one, suddenly decides he doesn't want to play anymore and leaves a huge mess for everyone, because the AI of his large nation will mindlessly attack everyone around it sooner or later, messing up the plans of everyone who actually has plans. which is not the AI. The AI. Of course, that said, recently we had a new patch whose aim was to make the AI better at fighting. So the AI is actually slightly more challenging than normally it would normally be. It makes a little bit more sensible decisions. It uses magic a little bit more sensibly, which of course also means I have to fight an actual war against them and can't just pocket all those provinces in the south. So in essence I got the worst of both worlds. So by now you can see I'm moving lots of units around, trying to stem the coming tide of AI attacks, and I'm trying to be a bit more proactive by planning my own invasion already, since I don't want to just sit back. Of course this means I have to take all those large lumps of units I made and actually start putting some into some resemblance of formation so they can do what I want. For one thing, if you have large tramplers like mammoths, you really don't want them mixed up with your normal troops in case I panic. Except of course if you want to lose. If you want to lose, then you can just let them be like this, and the first time they're panicking they will trample most of your army. Perfect. This is of course the opposite of what I want, so I have to think of a way to minimize the problem of panicking large mammoths. And one of the solutions I came with is leaving a huge gap in my army somewhere and then putting all the elephants there. This way, if all units go forward to attack, the elephants will have mostly their own venue of attacks, a large, let's call it, street across the battlefield, and if they panic, then the chance is high that they will run back through a still mostly empty place of the battlefield. Again, of course, in practice, units and squadrons will move a lot more chaotically than my assumptions call for, but well, at least the way I am doing it, I'm not actively planning to execute my own army with the use of giant elephants. No, in my way, at least most of my army has a chance to survive the inevitable elephant apocalypse. And wow, after all this ranting, I'm still here sitting and carefully moving my squadrons around to form a real army out of this horrible mess. Yeah, it takes a while. The only thing taking more time is scripting mages, and since almost all of my mages are still tasked with researching, well, let's just say in the future you will be glad for those moments where I was just and only scripting and moving squadrons around, because nothing is as boring, especially for a viewer, than sitting there and making up little scripts for mages and then putting them everywhere. Script for 5 spells, save it to a shortcut, and then put it down to mage 1, to mage 2, mage 3. Of course, your mages also have to be positioned in some kind of sensible way instead of just a very vulnerable lump in the middle of the battlefield, the default position. So you have to move all your mages around, and it gets tedious pretty fast. And in a gimmick game like this one, there will be hundreds of mages later in the game, in every single battle, which also means you need to have hundreds of mages scripted. That's the real nightmare, a nightmare which basically made the last More Money, More Problem game a real slog. And when the game finally crashed because of all those giant battles with thousands of units everywhere, then secretly most of us survivors were probably glad, because they didn't have to rescript hundreds of mages each turn anymore. Let's see how long we can endure this second game. And wow, that's a lot of Yomon units in the south. I hope they stay where they are. Here there are pale ones and chamblers. Pale ones are not really a problem. They're kind of large and bulky and can survive a couple hits, but they also just have one eye. And as long as it isn't dark or underwater or somewhere else where they can't shine, they are mostly just fodder. Especially since their attack values are so hilariously bad, they have trouble hitting anything, even if it's directly in front of them. Yomon, on the other hand, has a lot of really good underwater units, which means even if I'm successful in throwing Yomon back into the water, then I'll probably have some trouble getting all my winged dudes into the water somehow. I have to think about this later. Right now, I'm still trying to mix all those units I have into real squadrons. Here I'm looking up some units. Right now I used mostly Raptorian warriors with their spears and their flyingness for my troops, since they're cheap and plentiful. But considering I have lots of money, I'm rich like Scrooge McDuck, I'm thinking of upgrading to my more important unit. Iron Crows, for example, have shields, which makes them a lot hardier against long-range attacks from javelins and arrows, so they are kind of neat to have. And of course I need some more archers than the couple sacred ones I can recruit in my capital, so I need some of those too. For the future, I probably use up my Raptorian warriors by making them attack the rear or just smashing them into an enemy, while the Iron Crows, the ringed dudes with shields and broadswords, hang back and protect my mages or something, and the archers will just rain down death. Maybe there will still be some mammoths to trample down vulnerable large armies. But I'm also thinking of maybe using storm guards, since when it's quite early right now, but sooner or later I will use a lot of death and air magic, and enemies will also use a lot of magic. And the problem is, most of well, let's say, take it slowly. If a unit can fly, flying is neat to have, but as soon as there is a storm, which can come from events, from someone just casting the spell storm, and so from an item, magic item or something, as soon as there is a storm, all units who can only fly can't fly. They are suddenly all grounded, and most of my advantages on the battlefield will be gone. Storm guards, however, are very expensive units who can just ignore storms and still fly. Units like those are really important, especially if large-scale magic becomes a great deal on the battlefield. So for the future, Storm Guards will probably become my major infantry army. But now let's look at this battle here. Ouch. As Yomon kills the defenders and takes over the province. But now they're sitting on one of my forts. Well, I need to see. There's a lot of archers. My only real hope to make this less painful is if the AI isn't smart enough to just spam tons of archers against my hordes of mammoths. If I can grind down the number of archers over time, then AI Yeoman is basically already dead. Finally, another line of magic. Could make this one if I had better air magic, but mirrors, those are neat. They make up armies which don't exist, fake armies, which is neat if you need to look stronger than you really are at some point. Something for the future. But other than that, oh well, enchanted mirror. That's it. Let's forge one. Sooner or later I want to move some of my border armies away, and then would be nice to not look completely helpless in that area. And I see the recording comes to an end slowly. Well, let's finish up here. Let's talk about this a bit later. Libluini out.